You've heard of the golden horn of plenty, traditional symbol of prosperity and of good things bestowed upon mankind.
This is Illinois, mighty heart of a mighty nation. One of the great industrial workshops of America. One of the great trading centers of the world. A state blessed with a wealth of natural resources. And with good earth in which to grow bountiful crops. This is Illinois today. This was Illinois 100 years ago, a barren prairie wilderness. Illinois, progress has one meaning: to serve people better at lower cost per ton mile. Progress is the keynote of the Research Center of the Association of American Railroads, located in Chicago on the campus of the Illinois Institute of Technology. This is the nationwide center of a continuing program of research and development, which, since World War II, has brought about a technological revolution in railroading second to none in American industry. Most familiar sign of this revolution is the diesel locomotive, with its increased speed, its power to pull longer and heavier trains, to save time in starts and stops, and to operate continuously with virtually no time lost for repairs and service. In 1946, only 10% of rail traffic was being moved by diesels. Today, diesels haul 98% of all rail passengers and freight. Diesel power has made it possible to lengthen freight trains an average of better than 20% and to increase the gross ton miles hauled per train hour by nearly 40%. This increased operating efficiency has produced a large part of the money with which railroads have been able to make other improvements. For example, since World War II, 700,000 freight cars have been placed in service, including piggyback cars that relieve congestion on public highways by moving the huge trucks on intercity hauls. Passenger trains are continuously being modernized to provide greater comfort and speed and superior service. Many new types of mechanical equipment have been developed to ensure faster, safer handling of goods in shipment. Equally great advances have been made in methods of maintaining and improving road beds to give bigger and faster trains a smoother ride than ever before. Nerve center of rail operation is traffic control. Each train's position is indicated by a pilot light on the board, and simple finger movements control hundreds of switches so trains can proceed on schedule with speed and complete safety. Since World War II, nearly 25,000 miles have been added to the lines controlled from centralized traffic control centers. The modern wonders of electronics have gone to work for the railroads. Microwave radio, radar, and television all have their place in the intricate system of communications by which the railroads conduct their far-flung operations. A classification yard is a miracle of automation. This is where freight cars are received, sorted, and made up into new trains. Here, by simply pushing a button, the operator routes cars, one after another, to the correct classification tracks. If a car should be rolling too fast, it's automatically slowed down by retarders that grip its wheels. This is progress, new means of serving people better at lower cost per ton mile. Since World War II, the railroads have spent an average of $1 billion a year, every year, on modernization. Railroads mean many things to the people of Illinois, and to thousands of our people today, they mean jobs. Just to keep this one freight yard going gives work to 125 men, and that's just a drop in the bucket. The jobs of a good many railroaders are well known because these are the men you see when you ride a train. But for every trainman, there are 4 or 5 men and women working behind the scenes. Doing what? Almost everything. There are welders and radar technicians, pastry chefs and punch card operators, machinists and research chemists, drivers and accountants, lawyers, linemen, sweepers, and elevator operators. You name the job, and it's on the railroad's payroll, a payroll that amounts to $575 million a year right here in Illinois. In the Prairie State alone, the railroads employ more than 110,000 people, more than in any other state in the Union. And that's just direct employment. Take this group of people. While they are not railroaders, they are among the 200,000 men and women working in Illinois industries and businesses that sell principally or exclusively to railroads. Counting families, well over 1 million Illinois residents depend on the railroads for their livelihood. That's how big a stake we have in our railroads. Throughout Illinois, steel rails spell employment, and they spell a great deal more. How much would a farming community prosper with only a local market to serve? It's the railroads that give them direct access to nationwide markets and worldwide markets. And the railroads not only transport the produce, but get right in there and help our farmers to operate more efficiently and profitably. And just as the railroads caused many a town in Illinois to come into being, so they're still a main force in keeping our towns and cities alive and helping them grow. The health of an industrial community is tied directly to the health of the railroads that serve it, bringing in the raw materials and delivering its products. The railroads know, too, that what is good business for the community is good business for them. So they work hand in glove with communities throughout the state, helping them to build up the industries they have and to attract new industries. Then take the matter of taxes, local taxes. Did you know that the Union Station in Chicago, just one of that city's 6 major rail terminals, has an annual tax bill of $913,000? A much smaller railroad station pays about $4,000 in taxes, while the municipal airport in a similar sized city pays no taxes at all. In fact, it's actually a tax burden because it takes property off the tax rolls. But that's another story. In this town, for example, the railroad pays nearly $10,000 in taxes to help support the local government and provide municipal services. And in the same town, the railroad contributes $7,000 in taxes to help educate the children. In many school districts, the railroads pay more than 50% of the total school budget. Throughout Illinois, railroads contribute almost $20 million a year to support our schools and $22 million to the running of our towns, cities, and villages. That's a total of $42 million. So it's clear to see that anything that hurt the railroads would hurt every one of us right in the pocketbook. As employers, as taxpayers, as builders of our economy, the railroads are mighty valuable neighbors to have in a community. Without these vital arteries of commerce, we could never have built up to the high standard of living we enjoy today. Equally important to all of us is the part the railroads play in our national defense, especially in these times of continuing international tension. The lesson of World War II is clear. By 1941, some people were inclined to think of railroads as old-fashioned, outmoded. Public fancy had been caught up by newer modes of transportation. The war, some thought, would be fought and won in the air. Yet, during World War II, the railroads transported more than 90% of all military freight traffic and 97% of all organized military passenger movements. As for the place of railroads in the future, in an age of rockets and missiles, that place has been defined by General James A. Van Fleet, who commanded our 8th Army in Korea. General Van Fleet has written, "Military planners know that they must look to railroads for the great bulk of the military requirement for transport, in the future as in the past. The railroads of the United States are as much a part of the military strength of the nation as our Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, because none of these great armed services could long operate without the logistical support which the railroads provide. No other form of transport, nor all other forms combined, could take over the job of the railroads. We must therefore take care to see that they are kept strong, vigorous, and progressive." Proud of the progress they've made, the men of the railroads are yet the first to say that they should be doing more. So, why aren't they?
Why aren't we doing more? Because we haven't been permitted to share in the post-war prosperity that has come to this nation. On our drawing boards, we have all kinds of improvements that have tremendous payoff potentials in terms of better service at lower cost. But these projects take money. And where is the money coming from in an industry whose rate of return on net investment has not been a reasonable 6%, nor even 5%, nor even 3%, but a meager 2 3/4%. Such meager earnings not only leave little money for improvements, but make it next to impossible for us to attract investment capital with which to build. The situation is not due, as you have seen, to the railroad's lack of interest in efficiency or its failure to keep up with the times. It's due to the fact that in today's highly competitive transportation market, the railroads are forced to fight with their hands tied behind their backs. Let's look at it this way. Suppose you owned a business of your own. You bought the land and built the store with your own money. You pay taxes on that land and store, of course. You work hard to help your town grow. You pay to keep up your property. You sweep your sidewalks and shovel your own snow. Now, suppose another man decides to open a competitive store, and your town fathers make him a present of a part of the courthouse square. He doesn't pay for it, and he doesn't pay taxes on it. He lets the town sweep his sidewalk and shovel his snow. And mind you, it's your taxes that are helping to pay for this. You wouldn't call it fair, would you? And that's not all. When you were the only business of its kind in town, suppose the town had passed a lot of regulations governing your business and your prices. Now you've got competition, but you're still regulated, while this competitor, because he's subsidized, is able to take your business and your customers away. People in your town may think they're able to buy more cheaply, but what kind of a bargain are they really getting when you figure the hidden costs? That's the situation the railroads face. We're being treated by government, national, state, and local, as though we still had a monopoly on transportation. Whereas, in fact, of course, we have very unfair competition. And to make matters worse, while the railroads are being hog-tied, our competitors are being pampered. We hear a lot of talk about wonderful new highways. We have a $41 billion highway program to be carried out over the next 10 years. $41 billion. That That's more than the total investment in railroads in the last 125 years. This will bring the total since 1921 to roughly $140 billion of public funds spent to create a mass transportation plant which operates in direct competition to the railroad. Highways are supposed to be paid for by the users, but user taxes have amounted to less than half the total money spent. Even so, on a ton-mile basis, a private car pays 4 times what a truck pays. So a highway trucker pays nothing to build his right-of-way, pays far less than his share for maintenance and replacement, and pays virtually no taxes to support schools, welfare programs, and government. The situation is much the same with air transportation. The right-of-way is the National Airway System of navigational and safety aids operated by the federal government. Airports and terminal facilities are provided by the taxpayers, and charges collected cover only a fraction of the cost. What's more, every airport built means more land taken off the tax rolls. Water carriers are in the same favored position. They pay none of the cost of dredging channels, of improving and maintaining their right-of-way. They pay no charges for the use of public dock facilities and locks, whereas the federal government has poured nearly $2.5 billion into this work, and state and local governments huge sums in addition. And while using all these tax-supported facilities, the barge lines themselves pay virtually nothing in taxes. By contrast, railroads have used their own private capital for their right-of-way and track construction, for bridges and stations, and they maintain the right-of-way entirely at their own expense. And far from being subsidized, the railroads pay heavy taxes to federal, state, and local governments, taxes which directly help to subsidize their competitors. Railroads, then, are required to help pay for highways, airways, airfields, and waterways, but are denied equal rights given their competitors to use these facilities for a business purpose. The railroads believe that every company engaged in transportation should have the right to use every tool of the transportation trade, trains, trucks, airplanes, and vessels, in order to offer a one-package transportation service, using the most efficient service or services to do a given job. This they are now forbidden to do by regulations. For instance, one regulation deprives the railroads of equal opportunity to share in transporting agricultural commodities, which, when transported by motor carrier, are exempt from regulation. This and other regulations bar the railroads from taking steps that any prudent businessman would take in the face of competition. The prosperity of this land has been built by business units that produce a commodity or service that adds to our overall national product. On that basis, what's the picture in transportation? In a single year, the federal government expended the labor of 28,500 people and $515,185,000 to promote transportation by air. To promote transportation by water, the federal government invests 25,694 people and $808,662,500. To promote highway transportation, 4,209 people and $2,408,931,000. But to promote railway transportation, the federal government invests not one man and not 1 cent. This clearly shows which modes of transportation are a drain on our economy and which one is at work building our economy. The railroads pay their own way, every step of the way, and that's the way they want it to be. They're not looking for handouts or favors. All they ask is that all forms of transportation pay their own way, making adequate compensation for the use of public property and services. They ask to be allowed to use public highways and waterways and airways on the same basis as others, and they seek freedom from antiquated laws and regulations in order to compete for business in a competitive market. In other words, what we ask is simply for fair play and freedom to build for a future strong, vigorous, and progressive.
The plight of the railroads has attracted nationwide attention, and a committee of the United States Senate investigating the situation concluded that a new attitude is essential if we are to stop the destruction of a vital part of the transportation system and the downward trend of our nation's economy. This is a matter of vital concern to all Americans, and especially to the people of Illinois. Rail transportation has been responsible for the transformation of Illinois within 2 lifespans from an untamed wilderness into a great agricultural and industrial commonwealth. It's literally true that the economy of our state rides on rails. As taxpayers, too, the railroads are leading citizens of the state, paying $20 million a year to support our schools and $22 million a year to our local governments, a total of $42 million paid by the railroads that individual taxpayers would otherwise have to pay. And in our national determination to remain strong, that we may remain free, we look to the railroads as one of the basic weapons in our arsenal. As citizens of Illinois, we depend upon the railroads for our economic well-being as we depend upon them for the defense of our freedom. We need our railroads, and we need them strong, vigorous, and progressive. Our stake in the railroads is our stake in the future of this land. It's that simple and that urgent.